Hey everybody, Michael Snyder, California Weather Watch. Today's July 1st. Happy first day of July to everybody out there. Taking a look at the visible satellite imagery this morning. You can see we've got some marine layer up against some of the coastal areas here. There are some sunshine areas there, mainly north of the Bay Area, for example. And of course, if you get into the interior regions right away from the immediate coastline there, you're doing quite well. Lots of sunshine to be had out there. As we go through the video today, we're going to talk about the heat wave. You've been hearing about it, no doubt, in the news and on social media here, and we're going to dive into those details as we go through the video here this morning. Taking a look at Eureka, California, check it out along the immediate coast. Of course, much better chances of being much cooler, but even Eureka could warm up under this regime coming up here with this high pressure system coming in. Depends on just how strong the offshore winds are for some of these coastal areas, but you don't have to go far inland to get very warm. And you can see Weaverville here, for example, checking in at 108 on the 3rd and staying till about 111 through the 6th there, and then 107 still on the 7th. So this is a prolonged heat event for much of the state as well, and definitely enhanced for central and northern California, still above average for a lot of southern California and a lot of the desert areas as well. Now, taking a look at the extreme heat risk here, this is Tuesday, July 2nd through July 6th, and you can see the purple here is for extreme. It does include Redding, Chico here. Sacramento is under the major. Stockton, Modesto is under the extreme as well. So heads up, this is on its way, and it's going to get worse as we go through the week here, coming up towards the weekend. And also, of course, you can imagine we're going to have elevated fire danger here. Take your usual precautions out there. Some very low relative humidities there, with wind gusting to 20 miles per hour. Moderate risk is going to be out and about. And excessive heat this week, kind of highlighted here by the National Weather Service, Los Angeles. You can see coastal plain versus valleys, mountains, and deserts here if you want to go ahead and take a look at that. And of course, stay hydrated and limit your outdoor activity during the peak heating. Now, taking a look at Crescent City, you can see how things do warm up here, but you're talking about upper 70s. Of course, interior areas are going to be much warmer, but the average high for this time of year is a nice, comfortable, 63 degrees. So you're going to be, 15 degrees above normal here, but definitely still the case that if you want to beat the heat, you need to be towards the coastal areas for the most part. Taking a look at Brookings, Oregon here, also right along the immediate coastline, but when you get those offshore winds, you can really warm things up. This is extreme southwestern Oregon here, and notice these overnight lows are pretty intense as well. As you can see, the average high 53 with some overnight lows maybe on Thursday, 4th of July, only getting down towards 70 degrees. Now we start to drive down towards Eureka here, California, and you can see some upper 80s, maybe towards 90 degrees here. Average high this time of year right around 69. Redding, California, look at this Saturday, July 6th. Right now, the forecast high, according to the European Ensemble run here, is at 120 degrees with some very warm overnight lows as well. Need to point that out. Not going to get much relief in the overnight hours. Here's Chico. Look at this. You're talking about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, maybe 7 days towards 110 or even warmer for, it's a pretty prolonged heat wave here coming up here as we go through Wednesday all the way on in through next week here. Kind of a slow decline in the temperatures here, but still very warm. You can see the average temperature here for Chico here is around 96, 97, and temperatures maybe up towards 15, 20 degrees above that with the very warm overnight lows. Marysville, California, something similar here as well. You're talking about 3, 6, 8 days, maybe 110 degrees plus. Sacramento, again, the red line averaging about 97 this time of year. You could be 15 plus degrees above that with the very warm overnight lows. Fresno, California, look at that Saturday, July 6th, 116 degrees there, the forecast high. Here we go with Saturday, Bakersfield. Look at this 119. Look at these overnight lows well into the 80s here when the average overnight low gets down to, close to 70 degrees here. So pretty darn right warm and not much relief. There's Modesto as well. Here's Burbank. It's above average here, or it's going to be as we go through the upcoming week here and perhaps on through the extended forecast here, but it's not an exceptional heat wave right now. But you can see there is some pretty good disagreement in some of the ensemble members here on just how warm we're going to get. And this is the heat risk for the 4th of July here and the 5th of July. And again, the purple is the highest, the extreme. You can see it is fairly widespread, especially across some of the I-5 corridor, some of the desert areas as well. Now, taking a look at the smoke forecast here coming up, this is a high resolution rapid refresh. This is the 12Z run. It goes out 48 hours. This is vertically integrated smoke. So it kind of shows you there the Fresno fire complex and the Basin fire kicking off smoke. You can see some of that drifting back to the west there across the valley areas and towards the coastal ranges here as we go through tomorrow morning and continuing to flare up as we go on in through Tuesday night into Wednesday morning here as well. So if you are out and about here across some of the Central Valley area and you're wondering where that smoke is coming from across some of the Sierra Nevada, that is where that is coming from. And if you want to check this out here, this is cal.gov or ca.gov. You can take a look at these individual fires, see how big they are, see how much they are contained, and what started them, if they have that information up to date. Now, taking a look at the National Weather Service Las Vegas here. So Wednesday through Monday, you notice we're on Monday here right now. So the worst heat is still to come. You know, pretty typical tips here. You know, don't leave pets and kids in the car. I hope nobody needs to be told that here, but it's always a good reminder because it seems to get somebody every single year. And you can see the areas impacted starting Wednesday here across some of the desert areas, I should say. Mojave Desert and Death Valley would be right here. Thursday here, and Las Vegas would be starting on Wednesday. And this is Phoenix, Arizona as well. Going to be quite warm out there. You can see Friday topping off at 114. Look at Blythe, 119 by the Friday there. And you guys know that drill to beat the heat. And this is the day one excessive rainfall outlook associated with some of this monsoon moisture here across some of the areas of the Southwest. And this would be day two. So if we look at the daily 2-meter max temperatures here coming up, this is for today. You can see we have plentiful 100 plus degree temperatures out there, but it's going to get a bit worse here as we go through tomorrow. Look at this, a lot of 108, 107s out there. And then we go towards Wednesday, we start to top 110 for some areas. Thursday, something similar. Friday, Saturday, maybe the peak of this heat wave coming up here with a little bit of a drop down here on Sunday. But check it out for Saturday. Some areas 114, 113, 112, kind of widespread heat here, except for the very immediate coastline. And you don't have to go inland very far to start getting to some warm areas or any kind of valley area, or even the higher terrain just away from the immediate coast is going to get extremely warm. There's the 7th, the 8th. This is next Monday here. Still very warm across the region. You can see this heat wave is not going anywhere anytime soon. As we go through next Tuesday as well, still very warm. There's Wednesday and Thursday, this heat wave lasting all the way on in towards July 11th for the most part. And taking a look at what is driving this. So this is the west coast of North America. You got the Hawaiian Islands, the bottom left. There's been a Kona low out there. You can see it. And this ridge is now developing here. This is late morning here today. And you can see this ridge. It's slow moving, but it's going to be very dominant here along the west coast of North America. And this is a big dome of warm air here. This big heat dome that is going to keep things warm, compressing air here, some offshore flow, and just very stagnant conditions here across the region, letting us warm up quite dramatically as we go through the upcoming weekend here. And you can see this really extend all the way up into the Pacific Northwest, very strong ridge. And as we scroll off into the extended, the models eventually do show this very slowly moving and parking back down towards its more normal position here across the Southwest USA. But if we take a look at 850 millibars, it's about 5,000 feet up in the atmosphere. And once you start to see these yellows, oranges, and reds, these are above average temperatures at 5,000 feet. And once you see the blues and the greens, those are below average temperatures here. So watch what happens here. You can see the anticyclone, the big ridge, and you can really see the temperatures ramp up here as we go through the upcoming week. Thursday, here we're now into Saturday morning. And look at these temperatures well up into British Columbia, Canada here. And of course, California is very warm at this time of year. So you can imagine just having above normal temperatures makes this very dramatic here. This heating is going to be extremely noticeable coming up here. As you can see, the west coast just completely dominated by this ridge of high pressure. Now, this is actually looking at a 5-day average of 2-meter temperature anomaly here. So this is just a smoothed out average. Some places are going to be much warmer than this. During the afternoon hours, for example, or some of the overnight lows are going to be pretty substantial as well. But this is, again, a 5-day smoothed out average. And you can see as we scroll off in towards the end of the week coming up here, the entire Southwest really subject to these very warm temperatures here coming up. And I want to show you this. And again, I like to show the upper levels of the atmosphere. This is at 500 millibars, or about 18,000 feet. And if I put this into motion, you'll notice the ridge building here. And again, that big dome of high pressure, slow moving, creeping towards the west coast, and just dominating the weather here as we go on into this week and towards the end of the week. You can kind of see that clockwise rotation here that is that ridge. And then if we scroll out far enough, you can kind of see it eventually start to meander and drift back towards the southwest here, which is more typical position for this time of year. Now, taking a look at probability of 2-meter max temperatures exceeding or equaling 110 degrees Fahrenheit. So we're going to scroll through today. You can see nothing for the valley areas yet across the desert areas, of course, for today. Now we go through Tuesday, tomorrow. You can see we start to introduce some of these probabilities into the valley areas. It would include Sacramento and Modesto, Fresno, for example. And then we go on in towards Wednesday here. You can see some areas have 90 to 100% chance as we go through July 3rd for 110 plus. And then we go to the 4th of July right there. There's the 5th of July. 6th of July right there. As you can see, we really start to bake here across California. And there's the 7th, there's the 8th, there's the 9th, there's July 11th here. You can see the probabilities continue to exist for many locations as we go through July 12th also. Now, I wanted to point this out here. We do have the remnants of Tropical Storm Chris. I believe it briefly became a tropical storm here. It'll quickly be downgraded as it moves over into Mexico. Eastern Pacific, we're not expecting tropical cyclone activity here, but we do have this moisture across Mexico. So we can look at the weather models and we can see that it was moving across Mexico here, but it shouldn't really have much of an impact. I'm going to go back to that because this moisture is supposed to stay a little bit further to the south, but it could kick up some of the additional thunderstorms and bring some additional moisture across portions of Baja California, Gulf of California down there as well. But we can get tropical moisture from some of these systems move up into the monsoon flow when conditions are right. But right now, we're not expecting tropical cyclone activity over the next 48 hours. 6 to 10 day. This is the same map that I showed on last night's run here. You can see the above average for the West Coast. Should be no surprise after watching the video here this morning. And this is the monthly temperature outlook for the month of July here. This was issued yesterday, and you can see the above average signal for much of the West Coast here, and below average signal here for some portions of California and Nevada as well. This is the drought outlook here. So the yellow shows drought development likely, and a couple places in Northern California might actually run our amazing string of no drought conditions here across the state of California. But, you know, this is still a good sign. Much of the state here is not in drought conditions, so we'll always take that. But anyway, yeah, otherwise, I hope you guys are prepared for the heat coming up here. We'll continue to break things down, and we'll go over some of the individual forecast areas here as we go through the upcoming week and just kind of remind you what the temperatures are going to be and what kind of precautions you need to take. Hopefully you got all your air conditioning needs in place right now. But otherwise, I hope you guys are having a good day. We'll do this again tomorrow, and I will talk to you guys then.